The conversation around deliverance and mental health is a hot topic that has for far too long divided the internet. And Pastor Mike Signorelli, to his credit, makes some incredible points about mental health versus the demonic. This is from a conversation Carl Lentz on Spiritual Warfare NYC and the Fight for His Life. And they start laying out a pathway to freedom.
For me, it's like I'm really just prescribing people what worked for me. I'm the crash test dummy of my ministry, where I'm like, hey, here's what worked, you know? And unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way because I was the guy who over-spiritualized until I realized this is not working.
That's amazing. He says he was the guy who over-spiritualized, and it's not working. One of the most frustrating things is when I am interacting with people, a lot of people online who will say they have patterns of addiction, patterns of sin, and they can't shake said patterns, and so everything is a demon to them. Versus acknowledging that perhaps something could start in the spiritual, but it manifests in the physical, and sometimes things are just a byproduct of mental illness.
Hello.
And sometimes it's hard to discern. So Pastor Mike says, hey, you know, once upon a time, I did over-spiritualize, and he discovered that wasn't a good pathway. Go ahead.
Crazy. I ended up finding this guy. Well, so, you know, a lot of my viewers know this, but like I mentioned to you, my dad dies prematurely. I'm fatherless. I had multiple abusive stepdads. I was raised in extreme poverty, gang-ridden neighborhoods, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden now here I am, Pastor Mike, and I'm like, I hadn't dealt with all this stuff. So that was, but I had dealt with it on a demonic level, or, you know, we say strongholds, but I was like, I need someone. So for me, basically what happened was it got so bad at the height of my alcoholism. I came home one day and my house is completely empty, but drunk out of my mind, I think, it was clean. So in my mind, I'm thinking, man, Julie really cleaned good today. And then when I sobered up, I was like, oh, she's gone. You know, like my wife left me. And, you know, of course that made things worse. I spiraled more, but eventually I reached a crossroads where I was like, I'm going to find help. So I went to this counselor who
So this is
That's crazy.
a while ago. So this isn't something recent.
This isn't last year.
As he's a pastor,
Yeah.
he's dealing with alcoholism. He didn't deal with his issues, the root of his issues from his childhood. And his wife leaves him, and he's so out of his mind that he thinks that
She's just a good trad wife.
she's just a good...
He's like, wow, this is awesome.
She cleaned the house so good.
I'm just a trad husband drinking my scotch. Nothing too crazy.
Nothing too crazy.
like fully medical and fully Christian, which is kind of an anomaly.
So he finds a doctor that's fully medical and fully Christian. If you have unresolved trauma from your childhood that you never dealt with, there's all kinds of markers, experienced SA, experienced some form of domestic violence, and experience seeing these sorts of things, have been displanted and moved about, right? Like meaning that you're born somewhere and you get displaced. There's specific markers for it. If you've experienced those things and you don't ever deal with them, they will rear their ugly head.
What's that scale called? I forgot what it is. I remember hearing about
There's
it.
like 10 things, 9 things, or whatever. Anyway, I've experienced like most of them.
That's
as a
crazy.
kid. Like refugee, saw my mom get beat, experienced SA, like all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is important for people who aren't aware that if you don't deal with these things, they will rear their head at some point.
Hello.
Hard to find those dudes.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting in the counseling session and then I start getting angry because I'm like, I have to pay a man to care about me. This is so jacked up. Like my pastor never cared about me, you know, blah, blah, and I, you know, all those wounds. So I literally just talk about dropping F-bombs. I just cussed this dude out.
Yeah.
He waits till I'm done. He's like, are you done? I'm like, well, yeah, you know, and he was like, well, here's the deal. You don't have to pay me ever again. I want to see you every single week. And I believe in you and I want you to be here.
Wow.
And this dude just broke this orphan thing off me. So I went on this journey with him for a long time. And what happened was one week, I just decided like, I don't want to drink anymore. And so I come in and I tell the guy, he's like, yeah, I thought it would happen this week or next week. And he had like charted this thing out. He was that good. He was an older guy, had been doing it for like 4 decades.
That's interesting that his therapist kind of had an idea of...
That's crazy.
He charted out my journey. So I think what happened is I became the test tube experiment for this stuff where I was like, it's cruelty to tell somebody it's a demon when they need counseling. It's actually cruelty because I was subjected to that unbalanced bad theology.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
It's cruelty
Yeah.
to tell someone it's a demon when they need counseling.
Come on. That's crazy.
Ain't that good?
Yeah.
How many people are walking around here who are really into some of this deliverance stuff because they see the highlight reels online, not dealing with real traumas that is going to require more than a church service and someone to try and cast a demon out of you?
Bring up your vapes. Come on.
You know, the Occupy Till I Come 60-day devotional is back in stock. This is taking you through the entire narrative of the scriptures in 60 days with custom daily devotional prompts. So what you're doing is you're spending 35 days in the Old Testament, 25 days in the New Testament, going over all the major stories. There's additional reading for you to go deeper if you want to go deeper on the stories. And you can get them right now bundled up with a virtual ticket to our Bless God Summit. Bless God Summit is coming up March 27th, 28th, 29th in beautiful Southern California. My favorite podcasters, apologists, pastors, preachers, entrepreneurs, all in the same room. Day 1, we're talking about apologetics. Day 2, we're talking about virtue. Day 3, we're going out into the marketplace and being the hands and feet of Jesus. This is going to be a wonderful event. And what you could do is you could actually get the devotional bundled with the virtual ticket for only $65. So go to blessgodshop.com, get yourself a 60-day devotional. I promise you the feedback on these has been crazy. You will love it. Designed by my guy, Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil. The beautiful artwork, okay? So go to blessgod.shop, get yours now, okay? Mean the world to me. Yeah. I think, and by the way, I think people should bring up their vapes. I think there's something powerful in terms of comment, because I don't want to minimize that. Like people having an opportunity to lay down their vices at an altar. Is huge. It's important. Sometimes we need those public moments. But oftentimes, if your addictions are overflowing from areas in your childhood that you never dealt with, or like the times someone has sinned against you, and you're not processing this, and you're going off of, well, this is a demon, and I'm just gonna keep trying to get deliverance for it. Which, by the way, a lot of these guys who get a bad rap, oftentimes, I think, Pastor Mike, Pastor Pagani, they won't do deliverance on somebody more than once. You know, because they'll be like, hey, you need to go get other types of treatment.
Come on.
And so watching you kind of go on that journey as well, where it's holistic, has been inspiring. So I don't know if you want to kind of like piggyback off of that.
I mean,
I know
holistic is a great word. I think, I mean, you just said it beautifully. I think there has to be, I think if you have a Christian, a follower of Jesus that is really aware of their mental health, aware of their neuropath and their brain chemicals and their tendencies, and they're really aware of the spiritual realm, they're hard to stop. Now, either one alone, easy to stop. You get that spiritual guy who's like, therapy, whatever, he's dead man walking.
These people drive me nuts in the comment section. And there's some of these people that are so like scoff at you wanting to go to a doctor, scoff at you wanting to understand how your thoughts work, how the neural pathways in your brain. They scoff at this stuff. They drive me nuts. And they tend to be stuck in feedback loops. And they tend to be in a space where they're constantly having to deal with the same issues. Right? And it's like, fam, you need to go get long-term treatment. Because it may not just be spiritual. Or it may start in the spiritual, but you may need to deal with it in the physical. Right? Now, so he says people who are, you need both. You need to be aware of both. Play some more of this.
Wow.
Get the guy over here who's all therapy, all brain, dead man walking. There's this beautiful...
That is also true. People who minimize the spiritual realm. People that are like therapy, Jesus and therapy, Jesus and therapy. And it's like, therapy. But there's a real unseen realm we're dealing with, according to the scriptures.
Come on.
That if you're not careful and everything is just material, materialistic, natural, and you're just one step away from an atheist, because you don't think there's a spiritual realm, right? Like you're just like, oh yeah, no, like demons and all that stuff. Like, nah, it's not, that doesn't really happen today. You're playing with fire as well.
Yeah, you can't go to therapy and then go home to your Ouija board and just play games.
Or I mean, I wouldn't even say Ouija board. You're using a hyperbolic example. You're right. You can't just go to therapy and then continue living, dabbling, and consuming things. Darkness, right? Here's an example. People are going to find this offensive. So I grew up listening to secular music. Secular hip hop. And probably wasn't the best for me in hindsight. Especially the more hypersexualized, misogynistic type. I would say that there are aspects of hip hop that probably did not serve me well in my fight towards purity. But today, the type of stuff that's like in the drill scene, where you have kids that are under 20, under 25, that are talking about their ops and smoking on them, like smoking on their ops as if it's a weed pack. We're smoking on said enemy's weed pack, and they're mocking the dead, and they're putting it into music. That's a different level of demonic to me.
drinking from my soda like it from his esophagus with a straw.
No, not that sounds kind of like UK drill. I'm talking like the King Von, like that sort of stuff, right? Like the guys that like verified
They
murder cases,
crazy, huh?
and they're talking about the cases that they beat. That's a different degree if that becomes your diet, if that becomes your soundtrack.
Yeah, it's pretty horrifying.
And you're just writing, or it's like your diet is just horror movies, but it's music.
It's like, oh, after work, I'm gonna unwind with a nice Conjuring and Conjuring 2.
Yeah.
And then you go to work and then you just listen to drill rap and
Whole place to get to where it's like, no, I'm a child of God. I love Jesus. I know God has a plan for my life. And because of that, I can then go pursue the things that God has opened up for me to get help. That combo to me is everything. And I think there's a wave, and you represent a lot of what that can be, of people who can really talk about both. And that's to me, the recipe that's going to bring continual revival right now it's really cool to talk about mental health. It's like therapy has become like church almost. So it's like, oh, I go to church, I go to therapy. Oh, okay, I got you. But that's going to swing back because that's empty.
That's going to swing back because it's empty.
your therapist doesn't give you the Eucharist.
Oh, stop. It's them both, man.
And just like it's been empty, hollow church where you're going to rant and rave about stuff, but there's no power.
Yeah.
That middle ground for me is the therapy side of things really, really helped me.
To summarize, I think this is going to sound crazy. I think this is a big moment for the deliverance community. Like the people that are into the demon slayers. I'm not talking about your issues with them theologically. I'm talking about the people that are into the demon slayers that are hearing Pastor Mike Signorelli went to therapy and it helped him restore his marriage. It wasn't just a spiritual thing he was dealing with that he just needed to keep getting deliverance for, that there was a physical, material thing that he was dealing with, and it helped him.
Yeah.
I think this is a big moment for the deliverance community.
Yeah.
I think it's and both.
Yeah, I definitely think it's both. It's kind of crazy that people go all into one or the other. Because the therapy one without the spiritual is like leaning on your own understanding. It's like trying to control your outcomes by paying a guy that has a degree. And then the deliverance one is like downplaying how brutal some of the physical traumas, or like the traumas in reality, not just the spiritual, can be, and how those actually need to be worked out with steps, not just deliverance.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep. And sometimes deliverance is necessary, prayer is necessary, but sometimes it could be a lazy shortcut.
I'd be praying that the therapy works.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's both and.
The scriptures talk about confessing your sins to one another. So I think you need a healthy practice of that to some degree. And then I think sometimes you need to get to the root of it.
You think a good Christian therapist is a good outlet for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think some of this can be done within the confines of a church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What's the benefit of a Christian therapist?
It depends on how bad your issues are.
Gotcha.
Like,
you can't be bleeding on people.
You can't be bleeding on
all the
people
time.
at church all the time. People in your small group may not be equipped to deal with your child when you were 5.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And the grossest part about
heavy,
this, and I'm gonna poke a little bit. The grossest part about this is when dudes meet girls in church, and then they become their functional therapist, or they meet girls in general, and then you're up with her until 3, 4 in the morning, confessing all your deepest, darkest traumas, and then like you trauma bond.
Yeah.
Like that's really why you probably need a therapist. Like, because you can't just meet somebody and within a week or 2 or a month of meeting them, you're telling them your deepest, darkest secrets and bleeding all over them. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.